Hello and welcome to another Vista tips and tricks video. Today we're going to be looking at how to update a show file. And we're also going to be looking at some of the tools that Vista has to help us do this. So we're going to be focusing on cloning and fixture swapping, and also some of the things you can do whilst programming to help you later on when you need to update your show file. So first we're going to build a quick cue list to simulate our show. Obviously it's going to be very basic, but the principle will apply to any kind of show file in any size. And I'm going to go through some of the things that you can do that will help you when you update. And we're also going to talk about why you might want to do this. So the applications where this will apply are things like touring show files. If you're touring with a band, you might have a ground package, but you'll need to be able to program into whatever house rig they have wherever you go. Or if you're like me, I have a master busking show file that I can then use to basically have a show ready wherever I go. So if I'm lighting a band, or if I'm going to a festival, or if I'm going to a rave, whatever rig they have for me, or whatever rig is put up, I'll have a show file that I can quickly clone and fixture swap, and then have all of that data ready to go. So I don't have to ever program from scratch. So this can be really good for saving time and also making the most out of your programming. Because once you've programmed a nice show file with loads of effects, it would be nice to be able to keep that and take it with you wherever you go. So this is going to be an explanation on how to do that. So the first thing we're going to look at when dealing with updating our show is what you can do whilst programming it to help you later down the line. One of the main things you can do is to program using presets or reference presets. This will greatly speed up any updating you have to do, and I urge you to do it in your normal programming anyway. When you're going back and editing stuff, if you use reference presets, you only have to update the preset, and then every cue that that preset is used in will update for you. What this saves you having to do is go through your entire cue list, or all of your cue lists, and manually change a position or a color. If it was saved in a preset and then used in a cue, when you update the preset, it will update all of those cues across all of your lists for you. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So now I'm going to show you an example of using reference presets, and also show you how Vista handles presets as you save them. So we're going to create a new cue list. And in this cue list, I'm going to bring up my spots. I'm going to put them into a position that's kind of fairly clear and obvious. So I'm going to point them kind of up and over the audience. And then I'm going to color them in a cyan color. Now, if I save this as a preset, the data will be stored in the preset, but will be referenced in the cue. So if I show you the timeline now, and I open up my position tab and my color tab, you can see that I'm actually just using raw data. So 100% cyan, 0 magenta, and a little bit of yellow. And then I've got pan and tilt coordinates that are just raw coordinates that I've entered in. So what I can do is select my fixtures and make a preset. And you'll see that as soon as I do that, those raw coordinates and that raw data will now be referencing the preset. Now, as I save this, I'm also going to show you how Vista automatically filters presets for you. And this can be extremely useful for one, saving time, but also I find in a theatrical setting, this is very useful, and also for time coding when you have a lot of precise things going on. So we're going to save our preset in the all quick picker, and I'm going to hold down my yellow modifier key or my control key and just tap in it. And because I'm saving it in my all quick picker, Vista automatically grabs all of the data available. So we have position and color, and it says this is what we want to save. If I just wanted to save the position, I can go to my position presets quick picker and tap in there. And as you can see, Vista will automatically create just a position preset, and the same for color. If I tap in color, Vista will automatically create a color preset. So this is something you can use to save time if you only want to grab, say, one attribute out of a whole stage look. But we want to grab all of this information, so we're going to tap in the all quick picker And I'm just going to call this one test 1. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now that we've recorded that, if I go to my timeline, you can see that now it's being referenced in this queue. So it's no longer just raw data. It tells me it's using my test 1 preset for both my position and my color. If you go to your output view, you can see this even clearer. So if I just expand these columns, you can see that under color mix, test 1 is being referenced, and under position, test 1 is being referenced. So we know that this preset is now active in this queue. I'm quickly going to release this and show you what we mean by filtering. So in live, if I grab my spots and I choose this test preset from the all quick picker, you'll see that it applies the whole preset. So both the position and color have been applied. If I clear and I used just the position quick picker, you'll see that even though it's the same preset, it only grabs the position for me. And if I use the color quick picker, it'll add the color. So this is what we mean by filtering. Vista will automatically kind of chop up your presets into their component parts so you can quickly access different bits of them, saving you a lot of time. So you don't have to have lots and lots of presets just for individual things if you don't want to. You can have whole presets that you can then divide up. So now I've shown you how Vista handles presets and how you can filter them using your quick pickers. Let's get back to the queue list and I will show you how you can use them to update your show file, but also whilst you're editing your queues. So I'm going to build another queue. I'm going to use the same fixtures again, this time turn them red, put them into a new position, and save this as a preset. So again, I'm going to go to my all quick picker, call this test 2, hit OK, and just as before, it's now referenced in this second queue. We can also see a little green tick on the preset itself, and it's also filtered into our position and color quick pickers as well. Now I can take these queues and copy them, and I've created a quick list that goes from our first look to our second look, back to our first one, and so on. Now, this is where being able to update a preset comes in handy. So say if, for instance, this first look needed to change. So every time the lights go to this up position and in cyan, they should really be in a more down position and in magenta. Well, we have a few options. The first option is I can go through each one of these queues and change them to be pointing downstage and magenta, but that's going to take a lot of time and might not be very consistent because I'm doing it manually. Another thing I could do was create that in my first queue and then go through everything and copy and paste it. Well, that will work, but again, it's very time consuming and it could also mess up some of my tracking options if I'm constantly copying and pasting new information, perhaps where I don't want it. So the easiest way to do it is because we've used our reference preset, meaning that this data is referenced in the queue from this preset, I can release this list and I can just edit it in live. So I can build the look that I want to replace it by grabbing those lights, turning them on, pointing them perhaps just off of stage here, making them magenta, and now just updating the preset that I want to change. So I'm going to hold down my yellow modifier key or my control key. I'm going to tap test 1 in my all quick picker. But this is where filtering comes in as well. If I just wanted to update the position but leave the color, I would tap in my position quick picker, and as you can see, automatically Vista will say this needs to be a position update only. Or if I wanted to just update the color and not the position, I could tap in my color quick picker. Again, this is just ways to save time and be more sure of exactly where your data is going. But we want to update everything, so we're going to use our all quick picker and tap in here. You can individually turn on and off this masking. So it doesn't matter which quick picker you're in, it's just if you want to save time, you can go directly to a position or color, etc. quick picker. But with all this correct, we're going to hit OK. And now, as you can see, this preset has also changed color, denoting that this update has worked. I can now clear live and then go back to my cue list. Note that I haven't actually touched any of these cues, but if I hit go, now I go between red and magenta because I've updated that preset that was referenced in those cues. So that was just a quick explanation of how presets can be used when updating. So you can imagine if you're updating a whole show file, instead of having to go through lots of cue lists, we can just go through a few presets and it'll update our whole show file for us. So let's now apply this principle to a cue list that we are going to update later on. So I'm quickly just going to discard that and open a cue list that I've kind of got ready or to go. So this is just a very simple cue list that kind of symbolizes the data in your show. So we have like a pretend song cue list here, and everything in here is referencing presets that I've already made. And again, we can see this as if we open up our tabs here or we go to our output, you can see that everything, all the color is referenced, all the positions are referenced. So later down the line, when we're updating, we can just update these presets and all of these cues will be updated for us. So I've got as far as the chorus because the next thing I'm going to show you is a few things you can do concerning effects, because that's kind of like the next thing that you might want to think about when updating a show file, because you want to make sure all of your effects are working correctly. So in my chorus, I've moved my spots so they're facing the audience, and I want to create a simple circle effect for the chorus. So to do this, I'm going to use a group because when creating effects, the first thing you need to start with, or the first thing you need to think about, and arguably the most important thing, is your fixture selection. And in Vista, when you save a group, you also save the selection that you used when you stored it. So if I go to my spots here and I use my mirrored spots, you can see that I have all of my odd numbers on this side and all of my even numbers on this side. And these little blue dots denote your selection order. So if I select just my spots group, you can see that it's a linear selection, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. If you use your left and right arrow keys, you can also cycle through your selection order, so you can see how it was stored. But for this effect, I want to use a mirrored selection because I want it to be symmetrical. So I'm going to select my group, then I'm going to go to my Effects tab, select New Effect, Position. I'm going to reverse the odds for this one. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to slow that down. And I'm going to go to Sequence and select a blocking of 2. And now I have a nice symmetrical circle happening. Now, when I save this effect, I want to be able to later on know what fixture selection I used. So when I'm updating groups, perhaps with more fixtures or less fixtures, depending on what rig I'm using, I know what kind of fixture selection was used, because that will denote how my blocking and repeats work in my effect and what the end result on stage will be. If I update it with the wrong fixture selection, then my effect will be wrong. So I want a way to know what group I used when creating this effect. Now, the group I used was spots mirror, but it was group 6. So what I like to do is, when I've created my effect, I will save it as a template. I'm going to save it just for this show. I'm going to call it symmetrical circle, and I'll put a dash, and I'll just put G6 for group 6. Then I'll hit OK. Then I'll make sure that that is used in this queue, or the template is used for this effect. So I'll go to my effects, and again, just like with filtering, I can quickly filter to all of my position effects, and then click my symmetrical circle. And if I go back to my smart effects, you can see that under the name, my new effect with its group reference is also here. So as I go through my queue list and I'm trying to update things, I'll be able to see which group I need to update this queue with. So that's just a little thing that you can do to kind of help you later down the line when updating your effects, especially if you have kind of complex blocking and repeats. So next I'm going to show you how to update or how to prepare to update your matrix effects. And they are a little bit easier, as a matrix will only affect the fixtures that are dragged and dropped into it. So I've made a video on how to create different types of matrix effects, and I go more in depth on how to use them. So if you want to find out more, go check it out. But I'm going to create just a quick matrix effect for us. Quick intensity effect. I'm going to take the overlap up to 50 and change it to a diamond sweep. So now we have our matrix effect running. The only thing I'm going to do now is, again, save it as a template. And this is if you have multiple matrices. I'm going to, in the name of it, call it diamond, and then again, just like I did with my other effect, instead of typing group 6 or group whatever, I'm going to type matrix 8, because this matrix is labeled 8. I'm just going to do M8 and hit OK. And then I'm going to go to my components, filter to my intensity effects, and there it is. Click on it, make sure it's updated in my Smart Effects panel, because now I know it's updated into my queue. So when I come back to this, if I had multiple matrices, I would know that this one is designed for matrix 8 in this queue. So all we have to do now is finish off our example song here. So maybe our next queue is for some blinders. So I'm just going to grab everything, stop all of the effects, turn it off, grab my blinders, bring them to full, and then perhaps we go back into the verse. So I'm going to drag and drop this cue, and then I'm going to mark it. So I'm going to disable the old mark that is broken because it's copied, and create a new mark for myself. And then perhaps we then go to our preset. So with our cue list complete and all of our cues referencing presets, all of our effects have been used either with a specific group or a specific matrix, and they've all been labeled. We are ready to update our show. So if we take this show, save it, and then go to a new venue, we should be able to update it fairly easily. And that's what I'm going to show you in the next video. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions on anything I've showed you, which is kind of like the preparations for updating your show file, please let me know. If I haven't explained anything quite clearly enough, leave a comment down below or on Facebook or on the forum, and I'll see you in the next video where we look at actually taking one show file and updating it into a new rig or a new space.